My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my ranking of Francis Lawrence's filmography from worst to best. And this video will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But I truly believe that this guy is one of the most underrated directors ever. Like, nobody ever talks about him, but they really should. His movies usually look great. Usually. His movies are usually emotional. He can get great performances from his actors. He can do action really well. And he seems to be the go to guy for dystopian, oppressive government movies. But he's so good at it that I don't mind. So I'm a big fan. But unfortunately, he does have a couple of stinkers. So let's begin by talking about his worst movie, and it's Slumberland. Now, I really like the movie Little Monsters. I love Beetlejuice. So I kind of like what this movie is trying to do, but the execution is so awful. Like, first of all, this movie looks hideous. The CGI is just a disaster, and I never found the emotional beats to land. I didn't really care for any of the performances, and it's just a really boring movie. But I actually did like some of the music here. So, yeah, it's still easily his worst one. His second worst movie is another movie I just watched for the first time, and it's Water for Elephants. And I watched it like a month ago, I think, and I already forgot everything about it. Like, this movie just doesn't stay with you in any way, shape, or form. It's very bland, it's very boring, and I never bought the romance for a second. So I really do hate this movie as well, so that's why it's his second worst. But that's the cutoff line. The rest of his movies I do enjoy to some degree. And his eighth best one is The Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Now, when this movie came out, I gave it a bad review, and I just rewatched it, and I did like it a tiny bit more. I really do appreciate the ambition in the story being told. I love how it looks like a mix of old and new at the same time. I do think some of the performances are very strong, especially Viola Davis, Jason Schwartzman, and Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage's final scene in this movie is so good. Like, the fact that the Hunger Games all started because of a joke. Like, whenever you explain something too much, you kind of risk losing some of its power, but man, that scene is just so unbelievably good, and I do think some of the character work is strong. But I don't know, like, I think the Hunger Games themselves are a little underwhelming here. The movie kind of falls apart under the weight of its own ambition, and I don't think the emotion lands here as much as it should have. Like, this romance, well, it doesn't go well. I should have been in tears at the end of this movie, and I just didn't get there. So there's lots to like, lots to not like, but I still like it overall. His seventh best movie is I Am Legend, and Will Smith is truly great here, and I like how this movie looks at isolation and what it can do to a man, and it does have its good moments. But it's just not what I want from a zombie movie. Like, it's never thrilling or tense enough, and the CGI is an absolute disaster. Like, this movie looks so bad whenever we see the zombies, and the theatrical ending really sucks. And Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. It's not a movie I'll go back to often, but it's still fine enough. But there's the other cutoff line. Every movie from this point on I really like. So his sixth best movie is the brand new The Long Walk. And I want to begin by talking about the things I didn't like. And it's a movie about characters walking. Every environment kind of looks the same, so visually it's very repetitive and it can feel tedious. And the ending. Okay, I love the idea that Cooper Hoffman's character is so filled with hate and he just wants revenge, while David Johnson's character is an optimist. He sees the beauty in everything. But he didn't have a proper family growing up. And I like how at the end of this movie, they kind of switch characters where Cooper Hoffman is willing to sacrifice himself for love, and David Johnson becomes more cynical and loses himself in revenge. I do love the ideas present, but the execution just didn't get there for me. You know, David Johnson goes to sacrifice himself, but Cooper Hoffman saves him, and then Cooper Hoffman sacrifices himself and he dies, and then David Johnson asks for a gun just like that, and then he holds the gun at the major for like a minute without anyone interfering, and then he shoots him, and then he just walks off. Like, it felt dragged out, but at the same time, he should have just shot the major immediately so it had more power, and then he should have been shot dead there too. Like, I don't know, like, I love some of the ideas present, but it kind of left me on an unsatisfying note, and some of the music there didn't really work for me. And speaking of the major, I thought this villain sucked. Like, he just kind of shows up every 20 minutes to be like, yeah, great job, guys. You are the best. You inspire hope. And then he just fucks off. Like, I don't know. I didn't really care for him too much. But this movie is still really damn good. Like, it is bleak and depressing as fuck. Like, it goes for it, and it is relentless, it is violent, it is gross, and I like how you just see these characters getting weaker throughout the movie. Sometimes their bodies fail them, sometimes they have to use the washroom, sometimes they need food, sometimes walking uphill is such a difficult task, and you know, you come to care for this group, and the group gets smaller and smaller as the movie progresses, and I found there was real emotional weight there. Cooper Hoffman carries the movie incredibly well. I've seen him in a few movies like Licorice Pizza and Saturday Night, and I've never been too impressed, but here he really stood out. But David freaking Johnson, he gives one of the best performances of the year. He is truly phenomenal here. Judy Greer is in this movie for like 10 minutes, but when she's saying goodbye to Cooper Hoffman, it broke me. Like, I started crying just like that. She is so good here, and I liked Ben Wang, I liked Toots Nyot, and I was unsure about my thoughts on Charlie Plummer's character at first, because they kind of build him up to be this big threat, and then he, himself. And at first, I was unsure what I thought. Like, did I wish he became a more antagonistic force? But sleeping on it, I do like the idea of this guy who caused a death and just couldn't live with it. And he really did just want to be accepted at the end. And he still provided tension in moments when needed. I also did like the music here, and I do like how so much of this movie is just reliant on dialogue. So it's not quite a home run. I do have issues with it, but I still feel like it's a really good movie. His fifth best movie is Red Sparrow, and this movie just feels like unlike any other spy movie. There's a level of maturity here, and it's willing to go to some really dark places. Like, this movie is graphic, and that torture scene is one of the most horrific torture scenes I have ever seen in a movie. I also like how there's an element about how you never fully know which side Jennifer Lawrence is on. She's unpredictable and it keeps you on edge. The movie looks beautiful and it's a very engaging movie. Like, it's long, but I was never bored, and I just feel like it's a really unique and effective movie. And so sometimes whenever a movie tries too hard to be graphic, it can kind of take me out of it. But here, Francis just makes it work. So I love it, and that's why it's number 5. My 4th favorite movie of his is Constantine. Now, this movie can drag at times, and the CGI doesn't look great, but it does kind of add a campy quality that works for this film. I love how unique of a superhero movie it is. I love all the supernatural aspects, and I love how this is a movie that focuses on torment and hell and heaven and death, and I love how it explores all of these ideas so well. I love how there's fun, goofy moments where he's doing an exorcism with a meal and trying to trap the demon inside. I like just where the story goes, and it's just a really fun movie for the most part. And like I said, it's unique. It's unlike any other movie in this genre, and I thought the cast did a really good job. So that's why it's number 4. But okay, I'm sorry, I know I got the boring top 3, but you have to know that I love the Hunger Games franchise. And I feel like when he took over from Gary Ross, the franchise just got so much better. So in 3rd place is Mockingjay Part 1. And I know people don't like this movie, but I love it. There is just this constant sense of dread and heartbreak in every scene of this movie. These are characters who have gone through a lot, and you really do feel that. Katniss has become this symbol, but all she wants is Peter back. And she's focused on her sister at the same time, and the Capitol is acting more and more evil, and it's just a movie that I find to be so effective. I love how patient it is with its storytelling. The performances are great, and there are some truly magnificent moments. The scene where Katniss is singing the Hanging Tree is great. The scene where they rescue Peter is great. The scene where the air raid drill is going on is great. And the cliffhanger to this movie is so unexpected, and it's so powerful. I also love how this movie explores propaganda and how it kind of expands upon the ideas of your life is a stage. There's just so much to get from it, and I truly love it. So that's why it's number 3. My 2nd favorite movie of his is going to be a hot take, I think, but it's Catching Fire. Now, I love this movie. I love how it doubles down on the darkness and the emotion from the first movie, and it just gets me. I remember watching this movie for the first time. I knew the plot going in. That it was going to be previous victors going up against each other. But it didn't actually hit me until I was watching the movie what that actually meant. And my goodness, just seeing how the system is rigged against everyone, and the loss and the heartbreak that comes from it. And, even when Katniss is on tour and she is in District 11 and things escalate, it has so much emotional power, and that just never goes away. The scene where, what's his name? Lenny Kravitz's character. I'm drawing a blank, but when he gets beaten in front of Katniss and she's going up the tube and the aspect ratio changes, that is just masterclass filmmaking. The action is much better here. The movie looks great, and I just love how it's a franchise movie willing to go to those dark places. I also like the addition of Finnick here because at first he seems like a douche, but you kind of start to realize just how good of a guy he is, and the final few moments where Katniss shoots the arena gives me chills every single time, and she wakes up and she finds out about what happened to District 12 and Peter's taken, and she has this face of heartbreak that changes into a face of rage, and it's just phenomenal. I love it. That's why it's number 2. But my favorite Francis Lawrence movie, and my favorite movie of this franchise, is The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. Because I just find this movie to be so emotional, and like, it goes in unexpected directions. Like, the fact that there is no big fight with Snow. The fact that Coin becomes another villain. You know, like, these things caught me off guard, but it's handled so well, and yeah, you kind of know that she's not going to shoot Snow and she's going to shoot Coin, but that moment still has weight, and it makes it to be a very mature reflection on war and rebellion and how these systems got put in place in the first place, and it's just really well done. I also love everything with Peter, how he's a wild card and you never know what side of him you're going to get. He creates some tension and some heartbreak. The fact that someone who loved Katniss so much has been programmed to hate her is done so effectively. I like everything they did with Gale, and Prim's death is just tragic. I also kind of like how the entire sewer scene is so great. It feels like an alien movie. It's tense, it's thrilling, but when Finnick dies and Katniss drops the bomb and then the action is still going on, that scene just, it's like an anxiety attack. It's so good, and I think the performances are incredible, and I also just love the ending of this movie. Like, Katniss goes back home and she has almost nothing, and then Peter shows up, and it's a, depressing movie, but it ends on a very sweet, beautiful note, and it just moves me. This movie makes me feel every emotion, and I love how subversive and unique it is, and I think it has a lot to say about human nature, and yeah, it's a movie I just love. So that's why it's my number 1. But what's your ranking of his filmography? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin out.